Hi everyone, this is Arcadius and welcome back to Naval. Today we'll be going over the first fleet carrier that you can research and play in the Japanese carrier tech tree line, that being Hiryu, or as I've renamed her, Soryu, the actual other sister ship. Um, I actually kind of struggle with this ship. I haven't had many good games, but I also haven't really played her that much either, so maybe today will be different. So first off, I do want to say that the camo looks pretty good. Um, I'm not quite sure why the Japanese Navy all have green carriers in the game. I don't know if that's historical or not. I don't know that much, but it's not terrible. All right, so let's see what we have. So health, we have 45,600 health, 20% torpedo damage resistance, up to 110 millimeters of armor, so about 4 inches. Not a lot of that is on the belt, believe it or not. I said only 46 millimeters. Not quite sure where the armor actually is then. But yeah, you're not very armored. You can still be quite easily citadeled. Though the armor can kind of be trolling, because the citadel is actually pretty low if I remember correctly. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, so you only have a very small central part of the citadel that you can hit. The rest part over here and over here is pretty much under the water line. So you can only shoot from here to here. All right. Now we have 6 secondary gun turrets. So we have 1, 2 right here, and we have another one back here, and then we have 2 more over here and 1 more back here. Not a really good idea to go for a secondary build. She is quite larger, or much larger than Aaa Guns, so your maneuverability is also therefore going to be impacted as well. So you don't really have the best maneuverability for a secondary brawl. So yeah, don't do that. Aaa Guns, we have 27 Aaa Guns, and I have fully upgraded all my Aaa stats on all my carriers. So these are the max you can get. On the ranges is actually pretty okay. Damage is not terrible either. Honestly, for carriers, it doesn't really matter what your AA is. If you have your anti-aircraft defensive consumable activated, that'll pretty much knock down as many aircrafts as it needs to. I haven't found a carrier yet where it's actually bad. So yeah, your AA is going to be pretty decent. Let's see your fighters. You have, well, these are your fighters, torpedo bombers, and your dive bombers. Speed of the ship, 34 knots. She is very quick on her feet. Again, that is one of the main things about Japanese carriers. They are, most of the time, pretty fast. So let's see what strike groups we have for this carrier today. We have the first one, which is 1 fighter squadron, 2 torpedo bomber squadrons, and 2 dive bomber squadrons. The second one is 3 fighter squadrons with only 1 torpedo bomber squadron and 2 dive bombers. And then the final one is 2 fighters, 2 torpedo bombers, and 2 dive bombers. So let's start with the first one and show you how it works. All right, and here ourselves our first game. 1 carrier, obviously. We have 4 battleships, 1 cruiser, and 1 destroyer. So we might be able to have a quick game because a fighter aircraft, well, torpedo bombers and dive bombers are pretty decent against battleships, as we've seen in the last couple videos. And yeah, not much in the way of air power to defend against. So let's see what we can do. A few things before we start. I have adjusted the sound on the game because I have realized that it's still pretty loud. So hopefully it won't be as loud today, but if it's too quiet, then we'll work with it a little bit more. And tier 7 carriers are probably my favorite, well, matchmaking tier of carriers. Also, Hiryu gets a lot more aircraft than Roiho. Remember, she's a fleet carrier. She gets 72 aircraft. As you can see, not only do I have all my full squadrons, but I have 10 spare fighters, 20 torpedo bomber spares, and 22 spare dive bombers. So very attack oriented. Going back to carriers, though, Tier 7 in general is pretty fun because the destroyers are pretty okay. You start to have rapid firing guns and good torpedoes, and your A is not going to be anything spectacular on destroyers. But for battleships, if you want big guns, you have to have slow ships like Nelson and Colorado or Nagato. But if you want fast ships, then you have to kind of have smaller guns like Gneisenau and Lyon. So it's a fun little mix-up. And then for carriers, you have a wide variety. You have Hiryu for the Japanese, you have Ranger for the Americans, you have Aramanche for the French, Graf Zeppelin for the Germans, and you have Ark Royal and Illustrious for the British. So a lot to choose from. Alright, so let's see what we can do against some of these battleships. Why are you doing that? Stop. Alright, so I'm trying to not mess everything up here. Alright, so let's see what we can do against this Rodney here. We are going to lose some aircraft, but like I said, we have so many spares that it doesn't really matter. And that was a really good drop. I'm not upset by that. Alright, so let's see if we can set some fires now. One fire, two fires. Awesome. So now we're going to have two permanent fires. I didn't get any floodings on either of those torpedo hits, so that's kind of surprising. We lost all our fighters. Alright, so we're going to cap A here. And then we'll see what we can do. Our torpedo bombers are getting situated to come back out again. Alright, so let's see what we can do. There wasn't any really strong AA aircraft or ships on the team. Pensacola can kind of be okay if she has her defensive AA activated. And then Nelson is pretty decent as well as Soryu, but everything else is kind of mediocre. Alright, so quick turnaround time for our aircraft here, or at least it feels like it. Looks like this Lyon is about to run aground. Oh, we're losing our fighters really quick. So it doesn't look like our fighters are very strong. Which, honestly, there is a certain point in carrier gameplay, for at least the Japanese, where you just don't have very strong aircraft anymore. Or they just get shot down very easily. Alright, so we're going to kind of launch from back here. So they all converge onto the Lyon. And let's bring our dive bombers over here for the Andre Doria. Our fighters got shot down again. So we really don't have anything left. We sank the Lyon. Andre Doria is pretty much stationary. 4 bomb hits. And now we got a fire. I've determined that at least for the carrier games for Japan that we've played so far, she uses high explosive bombs. And not armor piercing. Armor piercing bombs is something that the French and American carriers get, or at least the later ones. And those can do quite a bit of damage. It's really, really powerful. But they don't usually set fires if I remember correctly. We'll take a look at that when we do those carriers as well. So I like the quick turnaround time for these strike aircraft, though I'm not really feeling... Oh, stop. Yeah, we're not doing very good with our fighters. So the defensive capabilities of this setup is pretty abysmal. Because I can't really interact with anything that this carrier is doing right now. Because if I do, I'm just going to lose all my aircraft. Alright, so there's only a couple ships left. So let's bring our torpedo bombers up here, as well as our fighters. And our fighters are tangling up with the enemy fighters. Maybe we'll be able to knock down some. Hey, we're actually doing pretty okay. I'm thinking that my team can handle this Nelson. Yeah, there, she's just about gone. And we're going to lose our fighter squadron again for the third and final time. But let's see what we can do against this carrier. I am slowly getting better with carriers, especially as I keep doing videos on them. So hopefully we'll be able to have some good games. So 4 torpedo hits out of 5. I'm not too upset with that. Let's bring our dive bombers from the rear. I find it's easier to deal with them from the rear than anything. And it looks like our fighters actually, or at least one, survived. So we got 1 fire. And a few more bomb hits. Nothing major. That wasn't the best drop though either. Alright, so this setup is pretty much offensive only. You have quite a few strike aircraft, but not a lot of defensive fighters. And then for the second one, you have a lot of fighters, but not a lot of strike aircraft. And then the final setup is pretty much a very balanced, good strike and good defense. So it depends on what you're looking for in your carrier gameplay. I like a more balanced opinion or setup. I don't need so many fighters that I don't know what to do with them, but I also need at least enough to make it seem like I'm actually participating in the game instead of just trying to toss torpedoes. Alright, so we still are losing some aircraft, but that's fine. We should be finishing up and sinking the ship now. There we go. Alright, wow. Okay, so let's see how we did for our first game. So for the strike-focused setup, we had 161,000 damage, 2 ships sunk, 20 torpedo hits, 16 bomb hits, 6 aircraft shot down, 4 fires, 3 floodings, 1 capped base, and 1 defended cap, for 5,300 base XP. We had 25,000 damage in fires and floodings, mainly fires, 118,000 damage in torpedoes, and 17,000 damage in bombs themselves. We only attacked a few targets, but we did get quite a few, quite high numbers on at least 3 of those targets. Alright, so that was the first setup. The second one is pretty much fighter focused, as you saw. 3 fighter squadrons, 1 torpedo bomber squadron, and 2 dive bombers. This one may be better able to deal with the carrier versus the first one. So let's see. Here we have our next game. We have 1 carrier, 2 battleships, a bunch of cruisers, and 3 destroyers. So let's see what we can do. See anything with good AA? Nelson has pretty decent AA. I think Javelin does as well, but everything else is kind of a walk in the park. So let's get our fighter squadrons out to begin with, because that's what this whole setup is based around. We have 22 fighter spares, 9 torpedo bomber spares, and 16 dive bomber spares. So this setup might have too many fighters for my liking, honestly. I do prefer the final one with 2, 2, and 2 for the squadron types. Alright, bring out our strike aircraft over here. And our fighters, you can have them surround 1. I really like the way that this game has the aircraft modeled. These are very, very nicely looking aircraft. And I enjoy the view you could use as well. Alright, so no enemy aircraft spotted yet, so let's see what we can do in terms of strike. We have a Nelson over here, so we can get some pretty good damage on her. For the cruisers, if I had 2 torpedo bomber squadrons, I probably could one-shot every single one of them. However, since I only have the 1, I don't think I'm going to be able to. Also, I think the enemy carrier might have the same loadout I just played with the 1, 2, and 2. So maybe we'll see if we can do any better against that. Yeah, she already has 2 TIE bomb or torpedo bomber squadrons, so it's not the same as mine. Alright, our fighters are going to town. Let's all keep them together, however. There's the Kitsushima. Not too worried about her. Alright, let's drop this Nelson here. A little far behind, so we're not going to get all of the torpedo hits. But we still got 3 of them, and then the dive bombers are coming in. And I'm not where I really need to be, actually. Okay, so where are our fighters? They're over here. So our secondaries are actually going to be opening up here on this Javelin. Because we made a mistake and ran into an island. So hopefully there's no torpedoes coming our way, but I can probably guarantee you that there are. Secondaries are opening up a bit, getting a little bit of damage. I actually sunk half the destroyer at this point. For all my carriers, now that I've upgraded the anti-aircraft defenses as much as I can, I am going to try and extend the secondary range as much as I can now as well. Where? Oh. No. Alright, so let's see. Can we find this destroyer? Though she's not really... Alright, so yeah, let's keep the torpedo bombers for the destroyer. And let's try and dive bomb this Fiji here. Something like that. Nope, we missed. Alright. Ooh, the Javelin's about to run aground. I would think at least 1 torpedo will hit the ship. Yep, it looks like she's down. Awesome. Let's see here. Those cruisers are coming around the corner here. Let's get our fighters back out. We're not really focusing on our fighters like we should be. So let's see what we can do now that we're waiting for our strike aircraft to come back online. Let's move ourselves into the cap to cap it. Alright, so I feel like the enemy carrier is going to go after this Colorado. So I'm trying to get all my aircraft over here. No, actually, they're going to go for that Nelson. Well, the Nelson's a lost cause anyways at this point. So I might as well just write her off. So our dive bombers are out. Let's see if we can get any good hits. No hits there. Let's go for the Akitsushima. There actually might be a better chance of hitting that than anything else since it's so slow. But it's also really small. But hey, 2 fires and 3 bomb hits out of 4? I'll take that. Alright, so yes, as predicted, it's going after the Colorado. We are able to scatter the first torpedo bomber squadron. We're not really shooting it down though. Oh, there we go. And now let's focus on these the dive bombers. Even though they have already dropped every aircraft that we sink. Every aircraft that we shoot down now is one less we have to worry about later. And we did sink the Akitsushima, surprisingly enough. Alright, so we're just trying to knock down some aircraft right now. This 3 fighter squadron is really actually not terrible. I am going to sacrifice group 3 there so I can try and get a couple more torpedo bombers because I don't have a lot of ammo left. Alright, so yeah, only a little bit left in squad 1. And that's not going to last very long. Alright, so let's get our strike aircraft ready to go. Let's see if we can take out this Colorado here. And then maybe we can bomb one of these Fijis. So we got the Colorado. That looks pretty good for a dive bomb. 2 fires, only 2 bomb hits. I'll take it. Alright, so let's start moving again now that we've capped. Fighters should be almost set to come back out. So let's get them ready. Remember, my anti-aircraft defense now shoots out to 7.2 kilometers. So we're going to be knocking down any planes that come near us. Which is good because it's only me and this destroyer now. And the destroyer will not last long against those torpedo bombers that are coming its way. So it's me and what, 2 Fijis? Yep, 2 Fijis. Wow, that enemy carrier sank 4 ships. I mean, we have 3, but still. As a bot, that's pretty decent. Alright, let's just knock down this plane while we can. It's not going to take very long. There we go. Alright, strike aircraft, let's get you out. There we go. So now we are the last ones up. And it looks like the carrier may know where we are. We're not detected. Alright, let's go see if we can finish off one of these Fijis. And I'll take any aircraft I can. Even though I am in the enemy carrier's AA bubble, it's not terrible. Alright, so once this last dive bomber goes down, take back my aircraft to a safe distance. Torpedo bombers, let's finish up this second Fiji, because my dive bombers can probably finish up that first one. Though she is maneuvering quite wildly. Alright, so let's see what that does. And we missed the entire ship. Alright, well, let's go after this first Fiji, because there's not much health left on her. And there we go, awesome. We want to be moving here. These dive bombers are actually pretty good. So yeah, focusing her as just dive bombers too would be pretty good. So her strike potential is pretty decent. So I'm thinking that the last carrier aircraft setup is going to be the best one, just in my opinion. All right, let's see if we can get into B. Let's bring out our torpedo bombers again and our dive bombers if we miss again. And let's see if we can get some eyes on this carrier as well, since she seems to be taking over C. Alright, there is the Fiji. Let's see if we can drop her. So how about something like that for a torpedo drop? That looks actually pretty good. Alright, so there goes the Fiji. That means our dive bombers can come over here. Our fighters did spot the carrier, who did cap C. But that's alright. Alright, so let's see what we can do against this carrier now that she's the only one left. We're not spotted, so we don't have to worry about any retaliatory strikes. So our dive bombers are coming in. And let's see what kind of a drop we can get. Actually, let's see if we can set this up a little bit better. Two fires. 6 bomb hits. We are losing quite a bit of aircraft though. If you look at our spare aircraft, there's pretty much nothing left. Even fighter-wise, there's pretty much nothing. And we had a bunch of fighters. So let's see if that's good for torpedo bombers. Maybe? Maybe 2 or 3. I'll take it. Alright, we are capping. We are detected now, so maybe we're going to have some enemy aircraft attack us now that we're seen. Though I think is she on fire? No, she's not. So if she has any aircraft left, she should be attacking us. Yep, as predicted. There we go. Let's get our dive bombers back out. And might as well use our def AA, because why not? And let's just start watching the aircraft fall. Honestly, this setup is pretty fun if you like to shoot down aircraft as much as I do, you're going to enjoy this setup. Alright, so we have almost taken down every single squadron that's come out. And let's see what we can do dive bomber wise. And our fighters are actually almost out of ammo. That's how much we've actually been taking them down. That wasn't the best drop, but that's okay, because I kind of want to take out more aircraft. So as our fighters land to resupply, let's just drop some more torpedoes while we can. We are shooting down a ton of aircraft right now. But the carrier is about to go down. We could have shot down more, but it's whatever. Alright, so let's see how we did. 149,000 damage, 6 ships sunk, 13 torpedo hits, 25 aircraft or bomb hits, 56 aircraft shot down, 12 fires, 1 flooding, 2 modules destroyed, 2 capped bases, 2 defended caps, 11 secondary hits for 5,800 base XP. 50,000 damage was in fires and floodings, actually just fires. 6,000 damage in secondaries, 68,000 damage in torpedoes, and 24,000 damage in bombs. So quite a bit of damage, and like I said, this is a really anti-air focused setup. So yeah, the 3 fighter squadrons are pretty powerful. However, it might be a bit overkill. So I'm thinking that this last one, which gives you a little bit more torpedo power, but also some pretty decent fighter power, is going to be the best one to go for. Alright, here we have our last game of today. 1 carrier, 2 battleships, 3 cruisers, and 3 destroyers. However, they have a Shunking, that Pan-Asian cruiser, which actually has pretty good anti-aircraft defense. So that one might be a bit difficult to deal with. Besides that, everything else is pretty straightforward. Hood might be hard to hit, as well as the destroyers. But we should be alright. I don't really like this map, however. Alright, but that's fine. So let's see, where do we want to go? Let's go over here. Alright, so let's bring our fighters out, our torpedo bombers, and our dive bombers. The reloading of the aircraft on these carriers is actually really, really fast. I'm surprised. I don't remember Hiryu being this powerful, or at least fun. I'm actually enjoying these games too. I'm not usually a carrier person, but last few days I'm actually having quite a bit of fun. Alright, so let's see what we can do. Our fighters are up. Way over there, we need to bring them out a little bit more. Torpedo bombers can come out towards C, same with dive bombers. I also have health buffs and speed buffs applied to my ship, so she's not the base ship. I should have mentioned that in the first couple games, but we have also a spare aircraft. We have full squadrons, and then we have 16 spare aircraft of fighters, torpedo bombers, and dive bombers. So split exactly down the middle pretty much, or 3 ways. Okay, so we have the hood over here, which will be a very tasty torpedo bomber target because she is very, very long and not very easy to maneuver, but she's very fast, so it'll be hard for me to dive bomb her. But Colorado is fat and slow and a pretty big target for dive bombers. Another thing that you might see bot carriers do is that they keep their fighters with their strike aircraft to split up the anti-aircraft defense of enemy ships. So if I have my fighters with my torpedo bombers right now, all the ships around here would be shooting the fighters and the torpedo bombers, which means that hopefully some of the torpedo bombers would be able to get through without taking any damage. And we got 7 torpedo hits. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see. Fighters can... there's not much I can do now. Dive bombers. Let's go against this Colorado. She's actually maneuvering, though. In a way that it's actually making it hard for me to drop. Alright, so let's just stick with that. That looks like it's not terrible. Alright, yep, 1 fire, I'll take that. Oh, we lost quite a few aircraft. Oh, because they all went over there. Alright, did we lose our Chongqing? We did, but so did they. So there's the major anti-aircraft defense ship that they had out the window. Let's see, where are we? We are right there. That's a lot of ships to try and take over sea. So we're actually just going to slowly back up here and bring out our torpedo bombers because that Brooklyn is going to get pretty close. See, I'm not quite sure where the carrier is going to take or go after next. So we'll have to keep an eye out. Okay, so here comes those torpedo bombers. Let's just go engage them immediately. We're not spotted yet, but that will change soon. Okay, so it looks like the enemy carrier is going to go off after the cruiser up near A. Alright, now even though Brooklyn is an American light cruiser, its AA defense is actually not that good. It does have Def AA though, so it might activate that. But let's see if that... No, she's turning in. Those are all going to miss. Alright, that's disappointing. But we have our dive bombers out, so maybe we can do something with those instead. Alright, so we have our dive bombers ready. Let's actually bring them behind the ship. Alright, that looks pretty decent. Oh yeah, pretty good. 10,000 damage, 2 fires. I'll take that any day. All our fighters were shot down, but that's alright. We were able to get at least a few aircraft before that happened. They're not really enough to make it worthy. I'm really too split up right now. I'm trying to focus on too many sides of the map and not really giving enough attention to any side at all. So they're going to go after that hood, but I don't think that I'm going to be able to save her before she goes down. Where are we? We're over here. Let's see what we can do to get into this cap. See, the Colorado is actually going to run aground. So maybe we can get some good damage on her. Then maybe we can finish this Brooklyn off with dive bombers if she survives. The aircraft are right there. I kind of wish that the fighters would automatically attack any enemy aircraft and would be able to disengage if you desired it, but you wouldn't have to make them attack the aircraft. They just do it by themselves. Let's focus on those. Alright, dive bombers. Looks like, did Brooklyn go down? Nope. Well, she's about to. Alright, so Colorado went down. Let's see if we can do anything against this Akatsuki. And a few more fighters to deal with. Alright, so I really don't like dive bombing destroyers, but let's see what we can do. How's that? I'll take that. One bomb hit for a fire. At least she'll have some fire damage slowly ticking on her. And we can keep her spotted for the rest of the team as well. That's another important thing about your aircraft. Even though you may not be the best at engaging smaller ships like destroyers, you can keep them spotted since they have good concealment, and have the rest of the team shoot them for you. Alright, let's get our torpedo bombers back up because we're going to be engaging the carrier here pretty soon. We're out of ammo on our fighters, so we're going to have those returned. So unfortunately for this Colorado, we can't really do anything to help her. You're capping this base. Dive bombers can come back out once they're ready. So yes, our spotting made sure we could sink the enemy Akatsuki before, I'm assuming, the Colorado goes down. But with the enemy carrier just having done a strike on Colorado means that we are pretty much in the clear for right now. And we can put a bunch of torpedoes into her side and sink her in one shot. Alright, so let's see how we did for our final game today. 146,000 damage, 2 ships sunk, 20 torpedo hits, 11 bomb hits, 14 aircraft shot down, 4 fires, 3 floodings, 1 capped base, 1 defended cap, 3,300 base XP, 19,000 damage in fires and floodings. We had 111,000 damage in torpedoes and 15,000 damage in bombs. So your bombs are not a big damage dealer. They're mainly there to set fires, while your torpedoes are really good at doing damage, but not so much setting floodings, especially if you have a player or a bot that waits until you get a flooding to repair and just lets fires burn, which is kind of what you should do, honestly, because fires don't do as much damage as floodings. Alright, so with that completes the review for Hiryu. She is a pretty good carrier if you know how to use her correctly. For someone who said that they didn't really have many good games in the ship, I did pretty decent today. So it looks like some of this playing is paying off. And tomorrow we will be going over Shukaku, which is a carrier I know I enjoy. I have had quite a few games with her that are quite fun. So we'll go over her tomorrow, another 3-game ship. So join me tomorrow, and thank you for watching.